Okay, students, welcome. This is an introduction to your last assignment this year. Woohoo! But I just wanted to go over with you over the details. It shouldn't be too tough since you've already done all the prep work. You just need to go back and look at all of the work that you have done in Notability to kind of gather your research and your information. So basically what we're doing here is we're creating a technology-based creative analysis of Romeo and Juliet. And the first thing you want to do is you want to read over these 5 essential questions that drive our unit, and I want you to choose only one. And specifically what I've done here is I've chosen number 4 since it doesn't seem to be a very popular question that students tend to answer. But either way, if you do choose to answer this essential question, you obviously can't use my answer, but there's a million ways that you could answer this question in addition to mine. So if you do choose it, just make sure you take it in a different direction, okay? And specifically, after you've chosen the question that you really want to analyze a little bit further, you're going to go ahead and start step 2, which is the research for your project. Now, don't freak out when I say research, but basically what it means is you're gathering together all of the information that you're going to include in your project. So you want to answer the essential question in a complete sentence. You want to make sure that you realize what you're doing is you're stating a theme or a message that you learned concerning one of those questions through this play. Put some thought into it. Make sure that it's thorough and thought-provoking. And specifically, I've given you the example here that it still appeals to the audience today because he conveys universal themes about falling in love with someone whom your family does not approve. Okay? Now, once you've come up with that answer, what you're going to do is look for literary elements that support that answer. And so the first thing you're going to look at, or the first element you're going to look at, is characters. And I want you to choose 1 or 2 characters that support an answer to that essential question, and then explain why. And so I've given you another example here. Again, you can't use it, okay? And specifically, I chose the conversation or the comments that Romeo and Juliet make at the end of Act 1 that really highlights their conflict. And so what I've done here for this second step of the research process for characters is I found a direct quote and I set it in MLA format. And here you have the quote, and you'll notice that I skipped a few lines here, so I used the line of periods to let the reader know that I have skipped those lines, okay? The next element you're going to look at is an example of simile and metaphor. Here you're going to choose a simile or a metaphor that supports the answer. And again, you can go back to your Notability files on simile and metaphor and choose one that you think may apply to this piece. If it doesn't, then you want to make sure that you choose a simile or metaphor from throughout the play that will show or support your answer to that essential question. And so here I give you an example. Right? I chose metaphor using Romeo using a metaphor, and I've cited the direct quote down here in MLA format. You'll notice Act 2, Scene 2, and then the lines. Okay? You want to make sure that you explain the comparison that's used in that simile or metaphor and how it actually supports your answer to the essential question. The next thing you're going to do is look at the element of soliloquy and monologue. You're going to choose one soliloquy or monologue that supports your answer to the essential question and then explain why. And again, I've given you an example here. I've chosen Juliet and her monologue to, let's see here, actually it is a soliloquy because at this point she doesn't realize that Romeo is listening. But so it's considered a soliloquy. It's made just to the audience, and it really does support her conflict of falling in love with someone from an opposing family. The next element you're going to look at is allusions. And allusions, again, if you recall, are references to usually historically significant people, places, or things. And throughout the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare often references Greek or Roman gods and goddesses. And so I chose one here where Juliet actually comments about Jove, or a reference to Zeus or Jupiter, okay, and explained why. So once you're done with those elements, you're going to come down here to step 3 to complete your project. Now this is the key to creativity. You can use any platform that you feel comfortable with, okay? The only thing you want to make sure about your platform is that you do have the ability for audio or video commentary, and I'll show you why here in just a moment. You also want to make sure that you can upload that document to Schoology with that audio or video commentary, since this is going to be a big bulk of your grade. So however, or whichever platform you choose, you should organize it in this fashion. Your first page will have a creative title and your full name. The second page will have the essential question that you chose along with your thorough answer, which should be in a complete sentence. Okay. Double checking punctuation, spelling, all of that wonderfulness. And then the interior pages, you can incorporate it in however way you feel is creative, but does include all of your research from step 2. You want to make sure for each literary element that you name it. You have a direct quote cited in MLA that is an example of that element, and then the explanation. Now this is the key here for number 3, the explanation, all right? It is not written, no written, right? It has to be video or audio commentary. And then for each page, I want you to include a picture or a graphic to accompany the topic of that page, the element of that page, something that reflects the content of what it is that you're focusing on that page. Finally, your last page of your document should have the works cited of the text. And then I'd like you to include an audio or video commentary on your overall understanding of the importance of that essential question. So really almost like a conclusion to the project with a culminating comment on the answer that you gave for the essential question. Finally, you're going to submit your project to Schoology. Here it says to upload it from its original app. So let's say you do it in Pages, right? You want to make sure that you share, you're in Pages and you share to Schoology. This should allow for the audio or video commentary to go through. Same thing with Keynote. Make sure you're in the Keynote and that you share it from there to Schoology, so on and so forth with whatever platform that you use. I would suggest that once you submit it, you try and download your submission from Schoology to see if the actual auditory and video commentary went through. Okay, pretty important. Finally, on the last page here, we have the rubric, and it is a 100-point rubric. You'll notice that the bulk of your grade comes from your evidence and also your explanations or analysis, which are an audio and video commentary. Not only are you being graded on that, but definitely your organization and creativity, your verbal skills. Do you stutter? Do you mispronounce? Is there interference as far as the audio is concerned? And then, of course, your conventions. Okay. If you have any questions, please email me. I think this is a very good project that will represent what it is that you understand as far as literary elements and the author's use to convey a certain message to the reader. But at the same time, hopefully from reading this play, you do take away the idea that literature does comment on the major aspects of life, whether it's written in the 15th century Italian setting or if it's in the 21st American setting. But that's it. I hope you enjoy the project. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a beautiful summer break, and I hope to see you all in the fall. Thank you for all of your hard work this semester.